Welcome everyone to Tuesday, November 7th, 2023 council meeting. Madam Clerk, can you have the roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Sandu?
Here.
Councilmember Papineau?
Here.
Councilmember Farmer?
Here.
Councilmember Lozano?
Here.
Mayor Vandenberg?
Here. Next will be the silent prayer, followed by the flag salute.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, would you read the replay statement, please?
This meeting of the Galt City Council will be cablecast on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T Uverse cable systems. The meeting is closed caption and webcast at metro14live.saccounty.gov. Today's meeting replays Friday, November 10th at 9 a.m. and Saturday, November 11th at 9 a.m. This meeting can also be viewed at youtube.com/MetroCable14.
Thank you. Next is additions and/or deletions. Does this council have any? Seeing none, we'll move on. There is no presentations this evening, so we'll move on to public comment. Madam Clerk, would you read the public comment statement?
Under Government Code Section 54954.3, members of the public may address the City Council on non-agenda items. The public comment section is for the City Council to receive comments. Except for brief responses to questions, no discussion or action may be taken on any item that is not listed on the agenda. Please limit comments to a maximum of 5 minutes. Consistent with the City Council procedural guidelines, the mayor reserves the right to shorten the time limit for speakers to ensure the efficient and timely completion of all city business on the agenda.
Do we have any public comment this evening?
Yes, we do. Ken Lee.
That the alleyways in the downtown area between 4th and 7th, F and A, many of them have signage, no parking anytime, but it's not consistent in all the alleys. They are not well lighted, and sometimes you don't see dark cars parked there, and turning corners, sometimes they block it. And during, it becomes an obstacle course. Some places are leaving large trash bins out 24/7 that you could hit. They don't have any reflectors on it or anything. And can the city look into the council chambers having the door have an automatic opening on this one side of the council? I use a walker sometimes, but I don't always use it, and it would be hard to get in. It'd be easier to have that button to push to open the door. And I wanted to know if there a juvenile police officer that handles it. The 12 to 14-year-olds are going around in packs now, and they're trespassing in garages, and they're being very insulting when you tell them there's no trespassing. They will not leave. They call you all kinds of names. Some of the unhoused are going into the stores, shoving you out of the way, cussing at you, and yelling racial remarks. I had to chase them off by throwing my shopping cart at them. There's many senior scams popping up. False automatic monies taken from bank accounts. Credit card machines in the stores in this town have skimming machines on the credit cards, and buying online taking excess monies. We need to have a monthly senior town hall, or basically at the senior bingo day, to educate and hear from the other seniors on how big the problem is. I've talked to many seniors, and they thought it was only happening to them. And basically, it's becoming a big problem. We don't have that extra money for people to be taking from us. And when you talk to the banks, they always tell you now that you have to call the company first. Before, you used to have to call the bank and they take care of it. So basically, nothing's getting done. And sometimes when you make claims, they won't give you all your money back either. They'll give you half of it. Like the EBT card, they only give you what you've been given on the maximum. And basically, you lose all the other money. And basically, they've been skimming the EBT cards, and they've been cashing them in New York at Steak and Bar and Grills. For some reason, they accept it back there in New York. I can't even go to the restaurants here and use it. And so that was it.
Thank you, sir.
Craig Morris.
Good evening, Council. My name is Craig Morris. I'm here for South County Services. I've talked to you also. You've shot my notes all here. I'm here to announce that we're having the South County Senior Luncheon on December 8th, which is a Friday at Cibola Center. And I just wanted to check back and see if you all got my letter, which you all did. I don't know about Councilman Popenow.
Received.
Okay, so you're the only one that I haven't talked to about this, so I was just kind of curious if I could...
Pending work and court schedules, I'll try to be there.
Okay, thanks. So let's see. So the tickets were available yesterday at South County Services, and we've already given out 85. We're going to have 225 available, and it's free to all the seniors 60 years and older. So if there's anybody in the audience that would like one, come and see me, because I brought 8 here. Just need your name. And like I say, it is free. It's at the Cibola Center between 11:30 and 2. So all the volunteers need to be there at 11 o'clock. Normally, I'm the ramrod on this, but last year was a challenge because I didn't get a chance to announce any of the volunteers to the seniors. So this year I got Armando Solis, who's on our board. He's going to be the ramrod assigning positions. So this way I can sit there and announce people, and we have some raffle prizes. So I want everybody to know the volunteers that are coming. So Armando will be doing that. We're going to change up the menu a little bit. So we're going to have barrel-cooked pork loin. We're going to have mashed potatoes and gravy, corn coleslaw, and of course Parker House rolls from Spawn's. And we're going to have apple pie and whipped cream for dessert. So that's all I have. Any questions? No? Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. No.
Mr. Morris, could you email Tina, or, well, I know you don't have Amy Mendez's email, but if you could shoot Tina the information on this, so maybe we can have our Amy Mendez put it on our social media about the tickets being available or something like that.
Many times as I've seen Tina in the last week. And
you
Rose.
may have already done it. I'm just saying
Yes.
if you haven't.
Well, yeah, Tina's going to come, and so is Rose. Yeah.
Okay. But I mean about the tickets being available. I like the public to
Oh,
know.
no, you know, they just were available starting on Monday, so no, she doesn't have that.
Okay.
No? Yeah.
Thank you.
Belinda Ellis.
Thank you. I am from the Galt Cemetery, and I just wanted to give you a brief update. Cemetery is very dear to my heart, and so it is to a lot of people in this town. So I just wanted to make sure you all stay aware of what we have going on, since I know people call you. Our gates are now open 7 days a week, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. The pedestrian gates remain closed. That is a bone of contention for many people in the public, but I believe they will continue to remain closed, and it is probably going to be for the indefinite future. The the ground is simply not safe. Our ground is green. If you've been by, we have semi-green grass that is strictly on the backs of my crew. They are absolutely amazing. They drag hoses through the cemetery, and it's flood irrigation. However, with flood irrigation comes another set of problems. Sinkholes and collapsing graves, sinking headstones, it's rampant. There's a lot of voids in the ground in a cemetery, and the way that we're watering, we create any more. We're a little bit nervous because we have been told that it's going to be another very wet winter. So the cemetery will be green, at least for a couple months. So hopefully you won't get too many complaints about the cemetery not being green. With FEMA, we are moving forward. However, Environmental Historic Preservation and I don't see eye to eye. They don't want me to disturb the ground, and I am continuing to remind them that we are a cemetery and we disturb the ground on a regular basis. So, but we are making headway. We also continue to have vandalism, but I think that's everything. People are breaking in. We've had our gas stolen recently a few times. We're doing everything we can to stop that, and we are dealing with homeless issues, but everybody else is also. So I just want to also mention, I know I saw Council Member Lozano came to our Dia de los Muertos event. It was fabulous this year. I say we probably had close to 750 people who attended. So it was a really wonderful event. The next big event we have is on December 16th. It's Wreaths Across America. I would encourage all of you to come. There will be flyers and stuff. I'm sure you'll be seeing those in the community. And it truly looks beautiful when the wreaths are placed on all the graves, on the veterans' graves. And one thing we can say about Galt is they are very supportive of our service members, past and present. So that was all I wanted to share with you today. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for letting us know.
Belinda, I just want to say thanks for the updates. And if you could maybe email those updates to us like you had, I think you were doing that in the past, just so I wasn't able to take down your notes, so that people come to me and ask, I can have the right information.
I'd be happy to.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Travis Castle.
Thanks for letting me speak. My name is Travis Castle, and I created the Path to Humanity. It is a self-funded program that empowers the cities in two different ways: public safety, and we can deal with poverty, which are two major issues. Program in year one should generate around $1 million a year. Phase one, year one. This program is funded by two sources, business and private. Businesses can sponsor both or either components of the program, such as poverty, so we can address homelessness, obviously. We can provide access to external housing options, such as the Lodi Access Center. We can reinforce Stockton's program and other programs such as that. We can provide mental health as well as rehab services. Public safety's very dear to my heart as a retired firefighter, paramedic. They need staffing. We have big staffing issues. We have equipment issues. And not only are we short on day-to-day equipment, we need new equipment, such as cameras that can be placed in high trespass or high crime areas to prevent vandalism and crime. And we can expand infinitely to provide community paramedicine and different crime prevention programs. So how the program works is for $40 a month, they get a sticker with whichever program they support that they can display, and there's many other options that, such as Yelp and many others that do that. They can be listed on the city website if you choose so. And the cool thing is they can take place, they can get access to a discount card that can be distributed to the public. And they can also donate gift cards to public safety or the poverty portion that can be donated to in exchange for volunteers that have been working really hard and making things better with such as your volunteer police and people that are cleaning up the city and dealing with vandalism and all that. So that would be the points to humanity, so they can exchange good deeds for the gift cards. So some of the questions you may have is, how do you manage it? You don't. What we do is we form a board with the city and the city management. We have city treasurer can be a charity that we bring up and promote, and we put different charities in charge of housing, mental health, et cetera, et cetera. And same thing with the public safety option. So this way, the city can oversee the program without being too hands-on. Think of it like a general contractor hiring private contractors, subcontractors, such as plumbers, electricians. Not only do you do it because it's more efficient, but you do it because they have that specialty. Another question you have is, why do you call it the path to humanity? Well, this isn't a figurative idea. It's literal. So we can take our current situation that's surrounding us and turn it into a positive situation. So when people elevate out of homelessness, we can create a mural, or we have all the flags around the fairgrounds at the, grounds at the flea market, where they have the flagpole, so we can have different people and their success stories. So ideally, it can provide not only a way of holding us accountable and making sure we're doing a good job with the program, but also gives access to people who are experiencing homeless, who see, oh, that's Jerry. I used to do drugs with Jerry. Now Jerry's a truck driver. Now he sees his children. I can do that. Because right now, all we have for outreach is flyers. Oh, this is what we have to offer. So I know this isn't a perfect program, but look at it like this. I'm creating a recipe, and I want your input. Together, we can make a feast. We can make this what Galt needs, create sustainable success, and prevent things from getting worse. And this is much better than what the government's given us, which is essentially ready-made TV dinners, which are not good at all. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Is that all the public comment? Thank you. Next is report by city council members, regional boards, commissions, and committees. Vice Mayor Sandu.
I'm sorry, I'm incorrect. We have one more. Phyllis Johnson.
Thank you. Mine is regarding compliments. Number one for Sean Farmer. The biggest one goes to him. The Chamber of Commerce and the others that worked on the old Galt Festival. They allowed me, even though I'm limited, don't call me that dirty word, disabled, D is dirty. And I was very glad to help. But without their knowledge and their assistance, it never would have happened. Sean especially. He gives a lot of time and effort to the city of Galt, directly as well as indirectly, and we should all give him a round of applause for what he does, not only here, but all over Galt. Thank you, Sean. Appearances there, that comes to Councilman Lozano and Vice Mayor Sandu, and Mr. Sandu's wife as well, for their assistance and help also. Going further, the second day of the Halloween celebrations was sponsored through Sean again. I personally was working with L'Chaim, and I pronounce it correctly, I had given out candy to a lot of children. I gave out a lot of candy. But most of all, this has brought me a lot of happiness, and I want to thank you all for those opportunities. Also, as far as both, nothing but positive. Do it again, is what I heard, especially for the Old Galt Festival. Do it again. Do it every year. And sometimes if we run out of historical information, which can happen, maybe we can retitle it Galt Then and Now. Thank you.
Thank you, Phyllis. No more public comment then. Okay, so we'll move on to reports by city council members on regional boards, commissions, and committees. Vice Mayor Sandu.
Nothing to report tonight.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Mayor.
Councilman Pompano.
Haven't had any meetings since the last council meeting. However, coming Thursday, we're going to have a joint meeting between the Air Quality District, SAC-RT, SACOG, and SMUD. And then also Thursday, we have a special meeting for the Cable Television Commission. So I'll have information on both of those at the next meeting.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Farmer.
I don't have anything to report officially, no.
Thank you. Councilman Lozano.
Yeah, I have a couple of things. First, regards to SACOG, we had a board meeting on the 19th. It was held at the Maple Community Center in South Sacramento. This is a community center that supports their community in terms of resources for kids and adults alike, after-school programming, literacy for kids, senior community clinics. They have a charter school there where they teach lessons on citizenship and moving folks that need citizenship or want to pursue that in that area. And the tour also included a bus tour of the Franklin Boulevard Business District and also a new program or new initiative that SAC-RT is taking with a bus regional transit program from Florence Center to the Sacramento Valley Hub. And so exciting things that they're doing over there. Their ridership for that area is Route 51. It's the highest traveled ridership in the system. And so I think they'll serve a lot of people with every 15-minute bus service during peak time. So that was kind of cool. We also held a SACOG unmet transportation needs meeting here on the 24th. We had a few people relay concerns about South County Transit drop-off locations at different businesses in our community, and those are going to be addressed. The next SACOG meeting is Thursday, as Councilmember Papineau mentioned, and it should be interesting to get all those boards together to really work on collaboration, making our communities better. And then lastly, applications for Youth Leadership Academy, I've mentioned it a few times, are due by the 10th. And this is a leadership academy through SACOG in which youth grades 9 through 12 can participate in a 6-county regional leadership program that lasts for 6 months, just after the first year to the end of the year. And we hope to get somebody from Galt on that committee. And that is all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. I attended the Consumnes Groundwater Authority meeting. The Consumnes Subbasin Groundwater, no, I said that incorrectly. Consumnes Subbasin Groundwater Sustainability Plan was accepted by the state, which is a very nice hurdle for the group. As much as we've been struggling along, it's very good to see that, even though the state, of course, added some stipulations, but I'm confident that they can be addressed. I also attended the Youth Commission meeting last night, and they basically set the table for the upcoming year. So look out for opportunity for the things that they will come and serve in our community. With that, we'll move on to the information consent calendar. It is recommended that items 1 through 9 be acted on simultaneously unless separate discussion and/or action is requested by the council member. Any council member would like to pull any items?
We do have public comment on 2 items.
Okay. Thank you. Can we have those public comment?
Item number F6, Phyllis Johnson. It's consent, so it's,
It's now or never. Yes, it is.
Thank you. My question is regarding this award modular office. Two things. Who will be using it? And will it bring in revenue such as rent?
It will be used by city staff, and so it will not be bringing in rent. It is a replacement of, well, it's a needed space and replacement of very old structures.
Thank you. That's why I asked the question, because it doesn't say what it's for. Thank you.
and also on item F9, which is also consent.
Okay, number 9, the gun range. I want to know the exact location, and that'll bring up another question. Because if it's going to be near residences, schools, or anything similar, that's dangerous. Thank you.
It's going to be in the same location it has been since inception, and there is no hazard to any community in any way. We're not even allowed to use it, so it's a safe northwest Galt. At the, You're very welcome. Is that all, Madam Clerk?
Yes.
Okay. City Council, does anyone want to pull any item for discussion? Seeing none, I will be looking for a motion to receive file warrants for period ending October 25th, 2023. Minutes of the regular meeting for October 17th, 2023. Approval of consultant contract amendment number 1 for Old Town Water Main Replacement Project Design and REY Engineers. CHIP 53AN, CEQA exemption section 15302 and 2108021. Approval of development impact fee credit agreement amendment number 1 with Richmond American Homes for Katarina Estates subdivision. Design and authorized officials to execute a Cal Recycle grant documents. Award of contract for mobile office trailer CHIP 5524F and related actions. Old Watertown Treatment Plant dry farming lease. Approval of updated clerk administrative jobs specification and classification. Gun range facility use agreement with the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. Do I have a motion?
Moved.
Moved by Councilman Lozano. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by the Vice Mayor. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Vice Mayor Sandu,
Aye.
Councilmember Papineau,
Aye.
Councilmember Farmer,
Aye.
Councilmember Lozano,
Aye.
Mayor Vandenberg.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Next is scheduled matter. There's no scheduled matters of public hearing. Also, we'll move on to regular calendar. Next is the Treasury's Office, Treasury's Report for a period ending September of 2023 by Mr. Farrell.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, City Council members, members of the public. I'm sure you expect your city treasurer to spout off a bunch of numbers, and I'm not here to disappoint, so that means I will. First, I want to talk about just housing data, just in the month of October. So in Galt, there were 18 homes sold in October. The median price, which means the one in the middle, that sales price was $593,000. Okay. The average, when you average out the 18, that sales price was $625,000. So For those who are longtime Galtonians, and I'm looking at a couple right now, years and years ago, I mean, you know as well as I do, we bought our homes, you know, it was a lot less than that. How about that? Okay. I'll also just say that the unemployment rate, according to EDD for the city, is 4.5%, which is also the average, or I should say it's the same stated 4.5% for the county in general. We all know the inflation rate is 3.9%. That was announced last week. It's my thought that or opinion that the Federal Reserve is going to keep the rates pretty much with no change throughout the rest of this year. I actually do expect one rate increase probably somewhere like either January or March, depending upon how those inflation numbers are coming in. But that's, again, that's my crystal ball. Everybody has their own, okay? Now, we just completed the first 3 months, or the first quarter, of the city's investments. And there's some numbers I want to throw out at you. So I want to mainly talk about the amount of interest that we earned for just this one quarter. But I want to go back about 2 years, 18 months. So first, I want to say for the fiscal year of 21-22, the city earned, so that's July 2021 through June of 2022, the city earned $358,000 in interest. That was the entire year, okay? So fast forward to today, just in this last quarter in interest, the city earned $832,400, okay? Now, am I a better treasurer than I was 15 months ago? No, okay? No, that's just reflective of certainly the higher rates. And, you know, we still have what is called an inverted yield curve, which just simply means that you get a higher yield on shorter term investments. For example, a 6-month treasury bill is 5.43%, where if you buy a 5-year treasury, it's more like around 4.6%. So that's why it's called an inverted yield curve. Okay, with that, I have nothing else for tonight, so if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. I ask for your approval.
Before we move on to questions, is there any public comment on this item?
No public comment.
If you want to make public comment, you're welcome to, but you're supposed to fill out a card and present it to the clerk. Oh.
Okay, I got that. So the median square footage was 1,765 square feet, okay? The average square footage was 1,864 square feet, so a difference of 99 square feet, okay? Sure.
Thank you, sir. Is there any questions by the council? Mr. Farmer.
I always have questions for Sean because
Shoot.
I always find his reports fascinating to me.
I don't know why.
Because it's interesting. I guess just it is staggering, though, to think, like, you know, the prices. I don't even know how people can even afford to buy homes. But do you, with that being said, with obviously inflation driving the rates up, driving our investments up, I mean, you've given some great numbers for the city for interest, not so much for the public who's dealing with inflation, but for every good, there's a bad. What are some that you usually will tell us, like some things you're kind of doing with, I mean, the shortest term you can get is like, what, 6 months?
No.
So what are you doing and what's your projection with, you said you're projecting another rate increase. I haven't heard that from anywhere I'm reading, but I trust you more than me. This is so with that being said, are you looking at keeping things very, very short, or what are you doing?
Yeah, great question. Thank you very much. So yes, right now, and for the past, I'll say 9 months, I have been trying to keep everything short. And the reason is clear. You try to get more yield that way. Now, I will say that I just last week purchased a bond, a $3 million Freddie Mac bond, And it is a 5-year, okay, bond. It has a one-time, 1-year callable feature, which means that in 1 year, Freddie Mac could actually pull or call that bond back. The interest rate on that was 5.7%, okay? And so that seemed to me like a good buy, because I could, buy that at 5.7, where the 6-month I can get 545. So again, that one-time feature. So in a year from October 28th, so October 28th of 2024, they have the ability to call that back. If they do not call that back, then we have that bond, what is called a bullet, for the remaining 4 years of that term at 5.7%. So if you do all the math for a $3 million bond, it comes out to about 170, somewhere around $177,000 of interest per year, okay? So that's, to me, that seemed like a good buy. That's why I did that 1 5-year. All the other investments I've been doing have been I've been doing 3-month, I've been doing 6-month, year. Yeah, that's pretty much about it. So I've been keeping it very short term. And the reason is to try to build up the amount of interest that we earn.
All right. Well, thank you, Sean. I appreciate your reports. I always look forward to them.
Sure. No, and I'll tell you one other quick thing. So my next door neighbor, when he was in the military, he had to be transferred. He put his house on the market. Okay, this is not, it's not one of the 18. It's for the month of November. Literally in one weekend, he sold with multiple offers. So that's how quick the homes are going, and that's why you see the rise in the price so much.
I had a real estate friend of mine. Obviously, there's a lot of real estate people in Galt, and we all know many different ones. But just want to throw the comment because we're in a conversation real quick. I was saying, well, how can people afford to buy a home at an 8% interest rate? I mean, especially a first-time buyer. And they were saying that, it's all about supply. That's why the prices are so high. It doesn't matter what the rate is, because people are not willing to sell their houses because they don't want to give up their great rates that they've had over COVID. They don't want to give up the 2%, so they're not listing their house. On the same note, we're not building houses as fast in Galt historically as to keep up the demand, but so it's keeping those prices high. But I just still blows my mind that that's people can still do it.
Supply and demand. So I asked for council approval.
Thank you, sir. I also found it quite interesting that maybe the staff could help me out. When we had the groundbreaking, the first gentleman that spoke, he's involved in economic development, and I forget his name, but he was quite confident that this segment of California, the Sacramento Basin, is in for, in his words, the best 10 years they've ever seen as far as economic growth and moving forward, which in this economy, I found a surprising thing to hear.
I hope so.
Yeah. So with that, I'd be looking for a motion. Oh, yeah, we going through public comment, Madam Clerk? I asked that.
Yeah, no public comment.
Okay, thank you. With that, I'd be looking for a motion to accept the treasurer's report for the period ending September 2023. So moved by the mayor.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Lozano. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Vice Mayor Sandu.
Aye.
Councilmember Papineau.
Aye.
Councilmember Farmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Lozano.
Aye.
Mayor Vandenberg.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Next is H2 Public Works Department, subject approval of resolution authorizing the issuance of a special tax bond on behalf of the City of Galt Community Facilities District Number 2020-2, Liberty Ranch Improvement Area Number 1. Mr. Sellings.
Thank you, Mayor. And Mike Selling, Public Works Director. Want to introduce a couple of folks that are with me here tonight, and I'll give a quick lay of the land and then turn it over to Mr. Eric Scriven. So Mr. Eric Scriven is with NHA Advisors. They are the city's financial advisor. And then I also have Jennifer Bradley here with me, who is with Best & Krieger as bond counsel for the city on this. And so as far as, a little bit of background, back in 2016, the city entered a development agreement with the Liberty Ranch developers, And that development agreement essentially set certain key parameters as to how the project would develop, including allowing for bonding for the public infrastructure, things like roads, sewer, water, streetlights, all those kinds of basic features. Fast forward up to October 2020, the city again approved an action for forming the Community Facilities District 2020-2, which is just for Liberty Ranch. You are likely very aware that we have a separate CFD 2020-1, and that's for other smaller developments around the city. But this one is only for Liberty Ranch. And as part of that action, we move forward into tonight's requested action for the council to consider issuance of special tax bonds to fund that infrastructure construction. So with that, hopefully I haven't taken too much of Eric's thunder. I'll turn it over to Eric to take you through the presentation.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members, council, and staff. Really glad to be here. I think appreciate my colleague Craig Hill for standing in while I was on vacation over the last couple of weeks. There were information meetings that occurred prior to tonight. So as Mike mentioned, this project goes way back from the development standpoint. The DA was executed a while ago, and in fact, the CFD district was executed in October. So that's about 3 years ago, actually. And there was a lot of negotiations went on, and city councils approved the citywide services as well, which was a really good approval. So the process has been good in our opinion. I'm going to put my glass on so I can see. So without going into the details too much on each of these bullet points, it's a large district, and we're talking about Zone 1, which of the total 1,400 residential units, approximately 700 are part of the area number 1. And the limitation that was approved back in October of 2020 that set the parameters for bonding this is about $83 million. The current proposal for this bond that's before council is about $11 million, and we'll go into the reasons why that number is before you for approval. The background on the special tax is that there's a rate and method of apportionment that was approved back in October of 2020. The RMA sets all of that up. And there's two parts to the levy. There's a tax A and a tax B. The tax A is the tax that will be the security for the transaction and any potential future transactions. And tax B is for the ongoing services. The tax B has been approved, and there was an analysis that was done prior to approval of that RMA back in October 2020 to make sure that the city's services would be maintained from this development. So that goes on in perpetuity, tax B. So tax A is going to be what funds is the security for the transaction. It'll be paid by the property owners. Again, it won't be paid by the security, won't be levied in any way. There's no liability for the city. It's paid by the property owners. Initially, the developer, and in the future, the residential owners of each of those parcels. The levy is on the county tax roll, and it will be levied every year. The council will have the obligation to approve that levy every year. There'll be a calculation that's brought before council, and it'll be approved by council, and it'll include all of the requirements per the RMA and the bond indenture to make sure that that levy is sufficient to not only pay the debt service, but any administrative costs that are associated with the district, and plus a little bit of coverage. I think that's it on page 2 or 3. I'd like to pass it over with respect to the goals and policies that were identified and laid out originally and approved by council.
So good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council, members, and staff. So as we said, this has been a long and ongoing process. So the city has previously adopted goals and policies for its community facilities districts, and that really provides overall guidance for the city in terms of proceedings for its community facilities districts and the issuance of bonds of its CFDs. And within those goals and policies, it lays out a few items, among which are a value to lien ratio requirement, minimum tax requirements, and an overall aggregate maximum tax burden on homeowners. And so the city's goals and policies have a 3-to-1 value to lien ratio in terms of the appraised value. There has been an appraisal on the property within the CFD. So in terms of the appraised value as opposed in connection with the amount of debt that's going to be issued. And that really allows the city to limit the amount of bonds that are issued for the development as development continues, to make sure that the issuance of bonds doesn't get out in front of the development as it progresses. There's also a minimum special tax levy, which is 110% of debt service and administrative expenses of the CFD. That ensures that the special tax that is levied on those properties in the CFD is sufficient to cover the debt service and the administrative expenses that go along with the CFD. And then there's also an aggregate maximum tax burden on the homeowners. The city's goals and policies has a 2% maximum. But when the development agreement was entered into and negotiated with the developer a few years back, that was actually lowered to a 1.9% aggregate tax burden on homeowners.
So the numbers are that we have an appraised value as a snapshot in time right now of about $34,420,000. The issue is proposed to be sized at a maximum of $11,005,000. That's not precisely 3-to-1. There is some existing lien on the parcel out in the area right now. So to remain within the goals and policies parameters, the $11,005,000 is the limitation. The debt service, it's a partial year initially, so it's about $450,000. Should stabilize. Well, the next year will be $625,000. The payments do increase at 2% a year for over the 30-year proposed term of the bond issue. The interest rates are pretty high right now compared to what we've been used to. That's why you're earning so much money on your deposits. So for tax-exempt debt, we've got a limit in the documents for approval this evening of 7.25, but right now we're looking at true interest costs of about 6%. Again, the limitation on the tax, cumulative tax per parcel is 1.9%. So that's inclusive of tax A, which is the security for the bonds, tax B, which is the services component of the CFD tax that pays for safety and all the general main services of the city, and anything else that's already on the tax rolls, geo bonds for schools, et cetera. So that's the maximum, and that'll be adhered to. Turning the page, we wanted this to be complete for the record. There's been a lot of folks working on the project, but the city staff does lead the team, and the remainder of the folks on here have worked together over the last since 2018, honestly, when we started negotiating with the developers on the rate and method of apportionment. So we're here tonight to bring this to the City Council. I'm going to hand it back to Jennifer so she can talk about the legal documents that are before you this evening, and if there's any questions, glad to answer them.
So So the city council has before it all of the financing legal documents that are required to issue and sell the bonds. The first is the fiscal agent agreement. The fiscal agent agreement provides the terms and conditions upon which the bonds are going to be issued and then administered. It includes things like the maturity schedule for the bonds, the funds and accounts that will be established in connection with the bonds that will have CFD special taxes and bond proceeds deposited into them, and things like tax covenants of the city to make sure that the tax exempt status of the bonds is maintained. Next, we have the preliminary official statement. That's the offering document for potential investors in the bonds, and it's required to have all of the relevant and material information relating to the bonds to allow a potential investor to make an informed decision as to whether or not they want to purchase the bonds and invest in them. And then you've got the continuing disclosure agreement or certificate. It's actually attached to the preliminary official statement. It basically memorializes the city's commitment to provide ongoing information to the bond market, which is required by federal securities law, related to the bonds and the CFD, the district. And then lastly, we've got the bond purchase agreement, which lays out the terms and conditions upon which the city will offer the underwriter to sell the bonds, and then the underwriter will offer to purchase the bonds.
So the timeline is if the council decides to approve the item and the documents before you, we will scrub the POS just a little bit more to make sure there's no material errors. There is a couple of steps that need to occur. There is no rating in this process. These are non-rated bonds. So we do have some diligence work to do with the underwriter still prior to releasing this preliminary official statement to them, whereupon they'll put that out into the marketplace and start selling the transaction to investors. That should be about a 2-week period of time. When that 2-week period of time concludes, there'll be a day, we call it the bond pricing day, where there's an order period opened up for investors to make offers to purchase the bonds at certain interest rates. And at the culmination of that 2-hour period, which is the result of a 2-week period of time trying to marshal up the interest of the investors, there'll be a sort of a moment in time where the underwriter will sit down with the city manager, finance director, as well as ourselves, and discuss the results of that sale. If there's any unsold balances, they're going to make an offer to purchase the bonds at certain interest rate levels. And if there's any unsold balances, they will offer to underwrite those balances as well so that they're buying 100% of the transaction. If the city agrees with our analysis and concurrence that it's the deal that they expected or hoped for, then there'll be a verbal award on that day, the date of pricing. At that point, all of the transaction details will be memorialized into the bond purchase agreement, and that'll be submitted to the city manager and the authorized representative at the underwriter to execute that bond purchase agreement, and then you have a deal. Before that time, there is no deal. It's at that moment when you have an executed BPA, you have a transaction, and then all of the other details are filled in on all of the other documents for the closing, which is usually a couple weeks later. So with that, we'd be glad to answer any questions.
Is there any questions by the council?
Yeah, I'll start it off. So first, I appreciate the pre-meeting, I guess we'd call it, with that we all had last week, I think it was, on this, just kind of breaking the ground on the details. In this example you have on the back of the packet, we were given Appendix 1, or Appendix I guess. It kind of gives like an example, square footage of a house, 2,200, estimated value, and it goes through the whole thing, talks about taxes, elementary school bond, high school bond, county taxes, et cetera. And at the bottom, it uses a 1.77. You guys are saying that the cap in this case is 1.9, and that's the example that was given to me on the prior meeting, but in your example, you're using 1.77. Why is that? Do you know which?
Overlapping debt table, is it attachment to the POS?
So I'm just curious, why the 1.77 compared, I mean, why would we be looking at, in actuality, it'd probably be 1.9 when it's all said and done, right? It's not gonna be 1.7.
Correct. There is some constraints. One of the constraints right now is the appraised value. We've got an appraised value that's probably it's starting to accrue increasing levels of value. So we're not, there's a series of constraints in this. Another constraint is the 1.1 times coverage. You have to make sure that you always levy for the bond issue. So you can't issue more than the bonds to stay within the 3.3 to 1 ratio. You can't issue any more if you don't have the 110 coverage. So that's without sort of thinking about it too much more. We're not going to get to the 1.9. There's these constraints that don't allow us to get there just yet, and we may never get there up to the 1.9 if those constraints cannot be adhered to.
Okay, thanks. What's the length of the term of the bond? I mean, I know I was given this information before, but just for the public.
30 years.
30 years. In the meeting I had, you mentioned there was something about 30 years, but then it would turn into something else and it would continue beyond 30.
The bond? The bond?
Yeah.
The bond, well, there's a limitation in the CFD, the district that was set up. The bond itself, this bond is going to be 30 years. But there could be a bond issued next year or the next year, depending on what kind of value is present, so that you can do you make sure you stay cumulatively with this $11 million bond. If there's another bond that's issued, that could be a 30-year bond as well, so it'd be 1 year further out. What is our limit on the district for bonds?
I think it's 30.
It's 30, so that'll be a 29-year bond for if it's issued next year. Okay. I mean, we'll have to double check on that, but.
So just for the public that's watching to understand, what this is basically, this is a way for the developer to recoup costs of all the infrastructure, like water and the whole gamut of all that stuff that has to be done to make this project happen. This is basically reimbursing that through the bond, right? You're basically, I mean, I'm just trying to break in layman's terms. A lot of people watching this are probably just not even understanding what we're going through right now. So I'm just trying to dumb it down a little bit so that people can understand. It could be potential home buyers that are listening on this, that are looking at that project, and they're trying to understand what this means and what's the purpose of this.
That's correct. This is lower cost infrastructure financing. They could find private equity or a bank loan, which are higher cost. So in return for that, in our opinion, as an advisor to the city, the city should be looking for a good amenity or a higher amenity project. This helps the developers pro forma to pencil, if you will, or to enhance that pro forma so that they're doing better. But in return, the city should be getting something too, irrespective of that special tax B, which just holds it even. That makes sure that the service levels are maintained when this residential development is put in place. We all know that residential development does not necessarily pay for itself. Commercial and industrial jobs producing is usually where you find a positive on the services fiscal impact. So
since you mentioned it, the special tax B, that's the part that would be collected that essentially would, like you say, this. If we're bringing on, eventually 1,400 homes in this area when the project's built out, roughly, right? That's the number. So the special tax B is basically going to be for service levels for like first responder, fire, medical, right? So that comes back to the city, the special tax B does. Correct?
Correct.
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 Okay, and then one last question, and then I'm gonna let my colleagues go, is I was told kind of leading into this that this was an agreement that was made in 2016 with the developer, right? So why come to the council? Why do we have to approve it?
The issuance of the bonds is actually by the city on behalf of the CFD. And so you've approved the development agreement to do it, but now that we've drafted all the financing documents, we need to bring them in front of you to have them approved, since it's not the developer issuing the bonds, it's the city on behalf of the CFD. So city council needs to approve the financing documents and the issuance and sale of the bonds at this time.
Okay, I'll let somebody else go.
Thank you, sir. Does anyone else have any questions?
Thank you. Just for the clarification, this development agreement done was back in 2016, right?
Correct.
And their development agreement, the current council, if they want to do anything, they already bound, they can't do anything. Just for the public record. The meeting today we can approve because due to the bonds, because we're going to sell the bond, right? So the other question is, there is two kind of tax. One is tax A, the other is tax B. Tax A is very much 1.9%. That's why we. What's
No,
the tax A?
No, the
approximate value?
1.9% is simply a maximum effective tax rate. That's not the tax for special tax A.
So that can be, we approximating 1.9 or plus or minus, right?
On the property value, yes.
Right. I think it's important to note that maximum of 1.9%, that's the maximum, the limit. That's including the 1% ad valorem tax that's already on the tax rolls, and any school general obligation bonds or any kind of special taxes that were put on the tax roll. So that between that 1 and something percent and 1.9, that's what you got to work with. And to the extent we've got a fixed number for the B tax, which is the services, that's the got to have tax for the city. Then the remainder is on the table for tax A, which is bondable for infrastructure. But tax B is really the priority in those two taxes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. No other questions? Mr. Farmer? Mr. Lozano?
No questions?
Is there any public comment on this item?
We have Phyllis Johnson.
Two things. First of all, I'd like to speak as a property owner. As far as these levies are concerned, how will we know about them? How will we know the amount and how much before they're due is very important.
I'll take that. So these are, the levies are only on the houses in the Liberty Ranch development, so it's only on these new homes that are being built. And there are disclosures that the home builders will provide to the homeowners to let them know they're in a Melrose district and that there are special taxes on them. So when someone goes to purchase the house, they will be able to decide whether or not they want to purchase in that district.
May I?
Yes, you may. Go ahead.
Okay, number two. I'm going to ask as an ex-banker, but when I say banker, I worked at Manufacturers Hanover Trust / Corporation for 16 years in the pricing department. So I had like the estate and trust, all the accounts, and I had the various departments like real estate and whatever. So my question is, and this is new to me, I'm asking from a bank standpoint because of a statement. My thing is, the banks may charge more, but if you can get a fixed rate where the interest doesn't change periodically, you're better off to pay a little bit more in the beginning and know what you're paying all the way through. Thank you.
Sage advice. Is there any more questions?
Yeah, questions, maybe comments. So Just want to clarify, like the vice mayor mentioned, he was saying that this is a contract, this is a development agreement that was made in 2016. The vice mayor just basically made a statement that we're kind of contractually bound to approve that. I'm just trying to understand the legalities of this, Mr. Smendario.
Sure. So the DA is a planning document. It's a contract between the city and developer that agrees to all sorts of bells and whistles regarding a proposed project. Everything from what infrastructure is going to be required, improvement plans, a subdivision map, perhaps fees, and then always within a DA is going to be a component regarding financing. How is backbone infrastructure, for example, going to be paid for? And in this DA, the city and the developer agreed back, I think in 2016, that the component of infrastructure was going to be form a CFD, and through a CFD, at the right time, when certain triggers and conditions happened, the backbone infrastructure, so the pipes in the ground and all the other things that would benefit that project, would be paid for through special taxes levied on the property, which you can do for CFDs. For CFDs in particular, there's only two types, and they've already hit at it, one of them. Services, so impacts for public safety services, ongoing maintenance, et cetera. That's the tax that was mentioned by the advisor earlier. That's the priority for what's happening tonight. The other tax that can be levied through the CFD, which was contemplated in the 2016 DA, is for a bond issue. And the bond issue allows essentially finance to pay for the significant cost of the infrastructure for that project. So I don't want to speak out of turn because this isn't my area of specialty, but I will anyways. It's become very common in California's market, especially with the limits of, it's not as easy to raise revenue for local agencies, and this is the way that the legislature is allowed to issue, through a CFD, issue bonds for the backbone infrastructure. So I guess what I'm getting at is this financing structure was agreed to between the DA, between the developer and the city in 16. We're just implementing it. Hopefully that helps answer your question.
It does. So basically, we're implementing this on behalf of the previous council. We're
Correct. Correct.
By approval tonight, we'd be continuing that commitment.
I go even a step further and say, if you don't issue a bond or we scrap this whole effort, we either have to change the DA or we're in breach of contract. I mean, it's to put a point on it.
Well, that's what I'm trying to clarify for the public. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
I do have some other comments though. So looking through your example, and I asked some of these questions in our previous meeting. So based on our treasurer's report, average prices. I know I asked this question before. What do we think the entry level home is going to be in this subdivision? You were saying, well, we don't really know yet because obviously they're not for sale and things could change. The example you gave us here is on a particular home of 596,000, which is a 2,200 square foot. So I thank you for that example. If the average was 625 that sold in Galt, that's probably a good number to use. So I'm looking through this, and I did my own math, and then I noticed you already had an example here. So after you get through property tax, bonds, et cetera, not counting like homeowners insurance and things like that, you're looking at, if somebody buys a 600,000 square foot or $600,000 home, and they put 20% down, you're financing, $500,000, maybe a little less. You're basically looking at like a $3,500 house payment. When you start adding the bonds, as it says here, $11,000. So these homeowners are going to have an $11,000 cost on their home on top of their mortgage. So essentially, with everything said and done, you're probably pushing between $45,000 and $5,000 a month on some of the middle of the road homes, maybe less on the small. To me, there's people out there that can afford them, I guess, but I know, in your line of work, you guys do all the market analysis, and who am I to say what you're going to be able to sell and what you're not going to be able to sell? But I find it staggering that people are going to, in Galt, are going to go into a housing development that you're probably looking at a minimum of that kind of money. That is a lot. So I'm only concerned, and again, I'm not the expert. You guys know what you can sell and what you can't, but I'm only concerned about what happens if the economy takes a downturn or whatever. Are we going to see, are we going to see a foreclosure crisis going on because these people are strapped into these I remember when the Mellorews, and this is kind of what this is, was like a huge no-no. Nobody wanted to buy houses in developments with Mellorews. That was like, everybody shied away from that, right? That was a thing. Now I know it's a commonplace thing, and that's what we've been told. So I get that that's the norm and people have accepted it. But I'm only stating for the record that I think these are staggering numbers. I don't know how people like my daughters who are in their 20s would ever buy a house in the subdivision. I mean, I just don't know how they could afford it. Maybe it's not for first-time buyers. But so because of the reason that Frank said, obviously I'm going to support it tonight because I feel like it's a promise that the city made to you guys, and it's a promise that this council has to uphold. But personally, I don't believe in it. I understand the purpose of it, but I just feel like in this day and age, people are just so hammered with whatever. So, but anyways, I just wanted to state that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're quite welcome. We covered public comment, correct, Madam Clerk?
Yes.
So that with that, I would be looking for a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the issuance of special tax bonds for and on behalf of the City of Galt Community Facilities District number 2020-2, Liberty Ranch Improvement Area number 1. Do I have a motion? Moved by the mayor. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councilman Pompano. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Vice Mayor Sandu.
Aye.
Councilmember Papineau.
Aye.
Councilmember Farmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Lozano.
Aye.
Mayor Vandenberg.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much, everyone. With that, we'll move on to communications.
None this evening.
City Clerk's report.
None.
Comments by staff.
Director Selling would like to lead off tonight.
Sure, thank you very much. I just wanted to give you some updates on some projects, and maybe on behalf of Parks and Rec. The tennis court, pickleball courts are now open. So just wanted to, I know there's been a lot of interest in that, and I think, I don't know this for a fact, but if anybody does and can clarify, I think there's a ribbon cutting
Yes.
scheduled for Saturday?
Ribbon cutting scheduled for Saturday morning.
Okay, all right. So I just want to make everybody aware. I think it's at 9 a.m. is the time that I heard. So anyway, that's an exciting thing. The Walnut Interchange, we had a workshop the other night, and I think at least a couple of you were there. We had an excellent attendance there. I'm told there were over 50 folks that attended that workshop, and so we got lots of good feedback from them. So that was just a quick update on that. The Courtyard project, and appreciate your approval on the modular office trailer bid earlier tonight. The pole barn is gone. That happened just this past weekend, and there's a little bit of cleanup work to do on that. But so that being essentially what I'm calling phase 1 is done, and now we'll get going on the contract for the modular office. And I expect we are finalizing negotiations on a proposal for the site work, and I expect that hopefully we'll have that contract signed by the end of the month and get that piece going. So lots of progress on the Courtyard project. The pool slide, just kind of maybe a teaser. I think we're looking to set a date for a public meeting or outreach on that in early December, so stay tuned on that. So, and then the last thing is the 5 playgrounds that the council approved. That project, gosh, I think it was in the spring. They're wrapping up the 4th of the 5 parks at Canyon Creek, and are expected to move into Community Park here probably in the next week or so, and that will be the last park of the 5. So, so just some quick updates for you on that stuff. So, thank you.
Thank you, Director Selling. Director Boring.
Good evening. I just wanted to share, staff's been working. We were recently accepted to participate in the Low-Income Household Water Assistance Program. It's a program to help low-income households pay their water bills, which we recently started turning off water service again. And so we have some customers who hadn't paid for an extended period of time during COVID. So the staff has worked very hard to get that. So we were just recently added to their website. I know staff has reached out to some of the customers that have contacted finance so far, and we'll be working to get that information out to residents that might be eligible for the program. And we're also finalizing our transition for our business license software. Our business license renewal goes out later in November, and so we're doing the final testing for our new system, so we'll share more information about that, but we're hoping it's a much smoother process than last year. It offers a lot of the same benefits. Businesses can go online and pay by credit card if they want, but the city manages the process, so if they want to pay by check or come pay with cash, or they want to print out a form, and they can come to finance and we can help them there also.
Very good. Thank you. Chief Kalinowski.
We will have the Back the Blue fundraiser for Armada Graywall. That's our last stretch of about $20,000 that we're trying to raise to get that project across the finish line. And so tickets are still available. They're $75 a piece. There's a lot of good raffle items. Staff has worked incredibly hard in partnership with the POA and the End of Watch Fund to help support that project, and we expect a great turnout. And so we look forward to seeing everybody on November 18th. A preview, our holiday open house. We did the Grinch theme last year. This year it's been voted to do the Home Alone approach. So Home Alone will be our theme on December 20th. That's gonna actually go earlier in the day. We found that with the smaller children and going until 8 or 8:30 at night, it was problematic. So we're gonna run that open house from 4:30 to 6:30. Again, that's on December 20th. And then the Cal Chiefs has 7 positions they assign to or appoint to Cal Cities for support on watching. I don't know if watching is the right word, but participating in the committees that Cal Cities has. And I've been reappointed to the Revenue and Taxation Committee. I know Councilmember Lozano sits on the sort of the elected side, but I'll be doing that on behalf of Cal Chiefs for this next year. And that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, that concludes staff comments for tonight.
Thank you. Comments by city council members, future agenda items, Mr. Vice Mayor Sandu.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for the staff for their hard working, and thanks for especially public comments. The citizen came down to spend their time, give us a public comment. Thank you for every. I attended a couple events. I attended the breakground ceremony of Bay City Electric Works. They will be a great asset to our community and local economy, bringing some jobs to here in Galt. I also attended last Saturday Market of the Year, once again looking for feedback from the Parks and Rec. And I know there's a community really joy with these Saturday market. Congratulations to the Parks and Rec Department for being honorary business of the month, and they support all our local business, hold many great events. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Pompano.
I won't be able to make the ribbon cutting, but I did go by and look at the courts yesterday, and they look great. So, and they're done ahead of schedule, I guess, too. So that's awesome. Staying with the Park and Rec theme, not to be a downer, but we're going to get through the holidays here pretty soon, and we're going to start talking about field allocations for softball et al. And at this point, we have nothing on the table or in the plan to complete Walker Park within the next decade. So we've talked about requesting the city manager and staff to come back with potential ways to finance and fund getting that done sooner. And so I'd like concurrence from other members to bring that back as soon as possible before we end up looking at springtime and we don't even know what Walker Park's going to look like.
I agree. We asked to look at some other options and whatever, so I would like to see that as well, yeah.
Okay. Me as well, and that makes 5, I assume.
Yep. So as soon as we can get it on the agenda. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you're fine, sir. Thank you.
Oh, I thought I was next, so.
You are next.
Okay. I thought you were going to make a comment about the before.
No.
Yeah, I just want to welcome Bay City Electric. We were all in attendance. It was very well attended. All the city staff was there, some of our elected officials at the county level and such. So just want to welcome them to Galt. They looked around, I guess, a long time and found Galt was their place to land. So we're happy to have them. I wanted to say a big thanks to Parks and Rec. I know Mr. Solis isn't here tonight, but if he's listening or to the staff's listening, I want to congratulate you guys on another successful year of the Saturday Market. I think it's been a huge success, and we've been growing the event, and they've been working really hard from everything from social media to planning the events. I know how much work it is, and so was a great last one. I seen Councilor Lozano there and Vice Mayor, and I think there might have been more. It was so many people, and maybe I missed if you guys are there, but it was well attended. And so I want to say a big thank you to Jackie and her crew and Parks and Rec and everybody involved, even to your department, Mike, if whatever hand you guys have, but everybody involved, I want to thank him for that. I do want to thank, again, I know I emailed you, Mike, but I want to thank you to Parks and Rec for quick response to that issue over the weekend with some spilled paint all over the sidewalk and whatnot. Your guy was out there like super fast, so I appreciate that. Just for a couple clarifications, because Ms. Johnson, I appreciate your involvement. Thank you for always being here and asking questions. The gun range we've had the gun range for a long time. And it's actually leased to the CDCR, which is the corrections. And so they're just continuing. We just made a new arrangement, and they're going to continue to use it. And it's by the wastewater treatment plant. And then the other thing, the trailer there was a question about that. That's to replace an old structure that's been torn down for Parks and Rec staff. We're going to do modular trailers, and that's what that's for. I do want to thank you for your kind words. Very sincere. Thank you very much. But I did want to clarify that I did have nothing to do with the Halloween events. The one on 4th Street was done by Ms. Weber and in conjunction with Laheim. Everybody participated in it. We all did, but I had no hand in organizing that. And the city did a trick-or-treat event, and I believe a church did a trick-or-treat event. There was several. So all those were well attended from what I hear. And I want to thank all those organizations for doing those. But I didn't want to make sure it was clear that I didn't have a hand in those, but I appreciate your comment anyways.
If it wasn't for your attitude to start with, it wouldn't have gone on at all.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Other than that, I just want to say thanks again for public comment tonight and people that spoke, and thank you for the treasurer's report, and that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lozano.
Yeah, I'm sad that Miss Ellis left because I did want to make a comment about their event they had, the Dia de los Muertos event on the 21st, and it was well attended, and I wanted to thank her and her staff for everything they do to make the cemetery the best place that it can be, given the disaster they had last year. I attended a community meeting with I think all of our council members and Supervisor Hume in regards to the community resources regarding mental health, and CPS workers were here as well as adult protective services workers. They provided a ton of information for our seniors, not only but also some information on things related to homelessness, and so that was a very good event, and we had a pretty good turnout for that. I want to thank Gail Weber and Laheim for their organizing of the event. Again, it was well attended. I think we gave out over 1,000 pieces of candy to kids, so there were a lot. I had the fortunate ability to attend the funeral services for CAPS member Jerry Brumfield. Thank you to Captain Small and Lieutenant Azevedo, the Honor Guard, and it was very well attended by the CAPS volunteers. And I know the chief was out of town, but we really appreciate the support for Jerry and his family. Not only did I know Jerry as a CAPS employee, but he was a friend, and so I really appreciate everybody that came out for that. I won't go over all the other stuff, but I do want to thank Parks and Rec and all the city staff that are involved in the market. It was very well done this year, and look forward to it expanding next year. two last things that I don't think have been covered is I attended the Galt FFA Alumni Fundraiser Dinner. It was well attended by everybody in our community, business community and the citizens. There was a lot of money raised for the program, and so they did this FFA jacket fundraiser at the end where people could just donate money to provide for jackets for students that were involved in the program that couldn't afford it. And I think there was enough money raised at the end there to buy probably more than 100 jackets. And so people were very generous that night. And then lastly, the Galt Teen Center had their 3rd anniversary celebration over the weekend on Sunday, and I got to see Don Natoli, and he's been real involved with helping them get things from the county level when he was a supervisor, and so it was nice. And thank you to Annette Kunze and Sarah McFadden and their entire board and everyone that works with the youth. They've served over 400 teens in 2 years, and so I think they're doing a really good job. And then just lastly, the Bay City Electric. I think that is going to be an awesome company in our city, and I want to thank Amy Mendez and Craig and certainly Mike for helping get that project going. And I think it's real important that the city, or any government, but certainly our city, work with people who want to invest in our community. It does nothing but help our community, help our citizens, and certainly we will, I'm sure, gain citizens through the jobs that are going to be created through that. And so whatever we can do in our internal processes to ensure that we are being as customer service friendly, and I know we are already, but as new commercial developments come, I think that's going to be important to keep that housing and job balance a little more balanced than it has been in the past. So thank you all, and thank you, Phyllis, and Ken Lee for coming almost every meeting and providing your input. It's greatly appreciated. That's it.
Thank you, Phyllis. With that, I also attended the Bay City Electric groundbreaking. I was a little surprised, but very happy to see even a representative from Congresswoman Matsui's office. I think it helps highlight how important it is to the city, and a big thank you to the staff. I'm sure the vast majority of citizens don't know what was going on and all the effort it took for that to culminate to a groundbreaking. So it's very good for the city long-term and where the city's headed. So thank you very much for all the work you put into making it happen. Thank you for all the public comment. We do appreciate it, even when you're harsh on people, but we like the compliments better. The trick-or-treating and the Saturday market is, a great example of why people love this city. And the pickleball that's, my calendar says 9 a.m. That's correct for Saturday? Mr. City Manager, go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify, the pickleball courts are not open right now. They will open, ribbon cutting is at 9 a.m. on Saturday.
Thank you for the clarification. I appreciate it. And with that, I would like to close the meeting at 7:28 p.m.